Welcome to the first video in this series, right? I just want to start posting guides for all the different missions in Planetside, because missions are probably my favorite way of earning certs in the game, right? They're generally pretty quick to knock out once you know what you're doing, but you get to dip your feet into new play styles, and you just get a bulk of certs all at once, which always feels great. But I found that new players have a harder time with them, so I'm going to be focusing specifically on knocking these out with the least amount of unlocks. So if you don't have a lot of certs or things unlocked, and you just want to get some fast money, listen up and watch for some helpful pointers, alright? In this first video, we're going to dive into the operational flexibility mission. This is one of my favorites because the objectives are open-ended, and the lack of class restrictions together just leaves a lot of room for getting creative with things. As a result, there are tons of ways to accomplish these and knock this mission out, and if you're particularly masochistic, you could probably even do it without ever pulling medic or engineer. But because you just want to earn your bonus checks, let's talk about the cheapest loadouts and the fastest, most reliable way to knock these out. And yeah, that even includes the vehicle objectives over there, right? You can actually knock them out pretty quickly with just the stock loadouts and a few tricks up your sleeve, so stay tuned for that. Before we talk about loadouts and strategies, let's just talk about how this mission works for a second and come up with a plan. So there are 6 possible objectives, of which you'll get 3 at random once you accept the mission. Now, technically there's always this little 4th objective over there that basically just says to finish the other 3, so we're not really going to talk about it. The first 2 obviously suggest that you play as medic, the next 2 is engineer, and the last 2 are easiest to do as heavy assault. I like to work on the first 4 first, and I'll just opportunistically shoot at any vehicle that drives by to chip away at 5 or hopefully get lucky for number 6, which I'm then going to save for last in hopes that they're just preemptively done before I really started on them. So to start by knocking out the first 4, let's hop on whichever continent has the biggest fights, right? So you're going to look for an alert, or you're going to look for lots of hotspots, which if you need to turn those on, you can go to map settings and then look over here. Once you're on continent, I typically like to start with the medic objectives. So grab that class with any loadout that has healing field. That's pretty much the only requirement, right? Bonus points for survival-related unlocks, but they're not really necessary. You're fighting in a large group of people, there's probably going to be other medics to pull you back up. So now just hit J and drop into the biggest fight. Once you get there, your goal is to find a big cluster of friendly people that are near some kind of choke point, like a door or a balcony or maybe a staircase. This keeps everyone grouped up in one spot, which makes it really easy to heal and revive them because you don't have to go hunt them down and run around to find them. It also means that there's constantly a steady stream of incoming gunfire creating people that need to be healed or revived. So from here, if you have objective number 2, just start picking people up. The nice thing is that other medics can't really steal revives out from under you once they're in progress, so not having an upgraded medic gun isn't really detrimental. Now, if you play medic a lot, which I would recommend, obviously upgrading the medic gun and getting those faster revive times is quite nice, but it's not really a requirement for this one. If you have objective number 1, this is where things get a little bit more fun, and we're going to play things slightly underhandedly. Do not use your medic gun to heal people. The objective is not to heal for 69 health or get 420 total XP from healing, it's to get 30 occurrences of XP from healing. So if you heal really quickly in a couple of short bursts, this is bad because you only get a couple occurrences of XP. Instead, your goal should be to heal people as slowly as possible, getting as many of those healing XP ticks as you can before you have to find a new patient who is missing health but not dead, which is kind of tricky to do sometimes. Hence the healing field. It nets you more increments of XP, even though they're smaller because it's healing slower, but it's those increments of XP that we're looking for. On top of that, healing field is just nice because it doesn't require you to find someone who needs healing, and it's AoE, so you can almost always get just a few ticks of XP in before another medic finds who needs healing and heals them, plus you're healing more than 1 people at once. So really, as soon as you see someone go down or a grenade flies through the window, just hit F and start healing many people slowly all at the same time and getting as many of those healing ticks as you can. Focusing on healing when people are getting pushed is kind of important because it takes the healing field a little bit of time to recharge, and that'll give you the most bang for your buck. It's also just a good skill to get a feel for in general. Bonus points, if you have both objectives, don't forget that you can hit F to heal people while you're rezzing the dead, which is quite nice. Once you've knocked out the medic objectives, if you had them, next up is the engineering objectives. Now, this loadout literally doesn't matter at all. All right, I told you guys you wouldn't need mini certs to follow along, but for this one you need the repair tool and the ammo pack, which you get by stock, and I don't think you have any choice over. I don't think you can get rid of either of those. I could be wrong, but I certainly haven't. Honestly, the most expensive ask about this entire video is just that you subscribe and ring the bell if you want to see when the next mission videos come out. But objective number 4 plays similarly to Medic, right? Hit J, get yourself into the biggest fight. This time, instead of aiming for a choke point that currently has people, you're really just trying to find choke points that people have to walk through to get to the other points of interest, right? So if you find a door and someone runs through it and there's other people in the area, odds are at least one of them is going to run through the door as well. So just throw an ammo pack down there. Doors are fantastic. They're basically human-sized funnels that force allies to walk over your ammo packs. So yeah, and again, if you see one person run through a door, they're probably not going to be the last. On the flip side, you also get a new ammo pack very frequently, so if you throw one down and don't get any XP, you can change its positioning pretty quickly, and you don't have to maintain any sort of proximity to it. So throw one down in a door you think is going to be a good choice and run off and start finding another door. And if it's constantly racking up XP, let it live for a little bit longer. And if by the time you find another door it hasn't given you anything, you throw another one down. Just keep being mobile and watch where people are going and use the human funnels. That's really what this one comes down to. Keep in mind that the people who are running around do have to not be full on ammo. So don't really stay near the spawn rooms, because anyone who's spawning in is obviously not going to need ammo. And again, upgrading the ammo packs is great if you play this class frequently. Not only do they live longer, they've got a bigger resupply radius, but when you're really using this strategy, right, you're using choke points, the resupply radius doesn't matter much, and you're moving them around a lot, so the lifetime doesn't factor in much either. Do with that what you will. Objective number 3 in this case is where we're going to start cheesing things, right? So obviously if you could find a max and just attach yourself to them, awesome. If there's an armor ball somewhere that you can help out, great. But usually those things are hard to find when you need repair experience. Like I'll see maxes walk around all the time as I'm light assault, and then I'll switch to engineer to get repair experience, and suddenly no one has a max. So in this case, we're going to find like a watchtower, a tech plant, or an amp station that is friendly and has been captured before or is currently being fought over, right? Try to look for ones that started off in enemy territory, which basically just means they're more than 1/3 of the map away. These guys always have a broken turret or two for some reason, and literally all you have to do is drop in. There could be like no one else in the entire hex. You just drop in, repair 2 of those turrets, call it a day. Super easy. So with the medic and engineer objectives out of the way, the only thing left is the vehicle objectives. And if you typically have a hard time with these, you're definitely not alone. And you're probably aiming for things like tanks and sunders and aircraft. And these are obviously valid targets. And they're absolutely glorious when you pull them off. But if you're farming certs, you need to think a little bit more creatively. So remember, anything a player can get inside of is a vehicle. So if you're pushing a base and you see an engineer on a turret, take it out for a vehicle kill. Turrets count. The enemy engineer had to walk up to it and hit E to get on it. The objective also doesn't say you have to kill or damage occupied vehicles. So if you see an abandoned flash on the side of the road, unload your gun into it for the damage. Now, if you haven't gotten either of those really convenient scenarios while you're doing the other objectives, let's take a look at the cheesy way to do this, alright? So grab a heavy and any dumbfire rocket launcher. And yeah, those stock ones work great for this. From here, we're going to steal a play from the engineer. So go find a watchtower, a tech plant, or an amp station. This time you're aiming for one in enemy territory with little activity, alright? Doesn't matter how deep it is, so don't worry about lattice links, and if you find one right next to the warp gate that doesn't have any hotspots and has a population of 0 or 1 to 12, that works great. Now you're going to respawn somewhere where you can pull an aircraft, alright? And once you're standing in front of the terminal, take a second to open the map up and note where the heavy fights are, alright? You want to really avoid flying over those areas. Then you're going to pull a Valkyrie. All right, you're not going to pull an ESF. Pull a Valkyrie. They have a built-in ejection seat, which means that you can just hop out of the plane and not take fall damage. ESFs require that you buy your own, since OSHA was abolished in 2400, so stay away from those unless you already have that. Once you're in the plane, hit spacebar, take it to max altitude, and then fly your route. While I'm flying, I like to expand my mini-map with H and zoom out with the bracket keys, just so that I can make note of where those hotspots are and where the target base is. Once you're over your target, just eject, find one of the stationary turrets, all right? It's the anti-tank or anti-aircraft turrets, and unload into it, and kaboom. You guys always have a broken turret or two for some reason. And yeah, with that, we've knocked out the 6 objectives needed for operational flexibility. Nice. I personally think these are the easiest ways to do this mission, especially given that you don't really need anything other than what comes stock on pretty much all the classes. But for me, the real grade on this video is you guys. So I'd love to hear from you in the comment section, you know? Tell me how I did. Is there anything that was kind of confusing or anything that was particularly helpful? Especially if you guys have new tips that you also want to share with new players, you know? Let's spread the knowledge around. I've got plenty I need to learn. That being said, you know, thanks for bearing with me. I know it took me a minute to get another Planetside 2 video up. I actually started a few projects and just never finished them because they didn't feel right. But I think that I'll definitely be putting out some more videos about how to knock out the other missions in the game. Hope you guys had a good day. And if it's Friday, have a good weekend. Catch you guys later.
Target down. Took out an enemy Sunder.